It's time for some footy analysis. Let's take a look at some of the good ball movement patterns that we actually had against the Cats, because even though the margin blew out, to the 75, 74 point margin, we still did have some good periods of play where we moved the ball quite well up the ground. And for me, that's kind of what I think the future looks like for us when we can start to do it on a more consistent basis. So when we're able to pull the trigger quickly and get the game on our terms, even if it's for two passages of play at a quarter, for example, it does look really clean and does look really sharp. And I thought I'd point a few of those out today because I think it's important to note the good things we're doing as well. Like, we're all very quick, us included, to talk about the negatives of the game. But I think it's just a nice one to have some positive reinforcement that the movement of the ball that we do when we get it right does work well for us. So we'll jump across to the footage and we'll check it out. Okay, so this is all happening from a kick out. So the Cats have just kicked it behind. We've got Vlostered on kick out duties. So he's actually gone. So that's the first kick. So instead of bombing it long down the line, so we typically kick it to like that half forward wing area where there's just a bulk contest, and it'll either get spoiled out of bounds, or it'll go to ground, and we typically end up outnumbered. But we've actually gone the short one to about a 45-degree angle because the full pocket kick wasn't on. And that kick then sets up the next bit of play. So if you look at Tim Taranto just a little bit further ahead, he's already reacted quickly, and he's in a big pocket of space in between two Geelong plays, but behind them, there's no one else really behind Taranto that can actually impact him receiving the ball, assuming that we pull the trigger quick enough, which in this case, thankfully we did. Now, EJ often talks about when we have the ball in the back line and we make these decisions, we've got to make decisions quickly. And that's the reason why, because if that was held on to for another half a second to a second, that kick doesn't come off and we don't end up in this position. So we just have to go on instinct. If it's there, take it. We keep rolling the footage. So Timmy Taranto's taken the mark. Again, typically these kicks for us kind of end up being long down the line. We don't usually get a chance to bite off these shorter kicks. He does have, I think it might be Camden McIntosh out wider as well, which is a safer option. But he's actually gone the shorter, more dangerous option to put it between the two Cats players that are either side. I think that might be Dion Prestia there. Dangerous kick, but again, pull the trigger quickly before the Cats can kind of set up and work out who's where, and it will usually come off more often than not. Prestia marks. Okay, we're still running forward. We've got three Cats defenders at the top of the 50 there who are now out of position. We've got a few Cats defenders that are up the ground trying to sort themselves out. If we hold on to the ball too long here, then they set up and we end up doing all of this for nothing. But when we show a bit of quick ball movement with Sam Banks running around the outside, he's drawn in another two players, Brian Myers, I'm not sure who the other player is, but they're now drawn into Sam Banks with the ball. We've got Hopper and Taranto who are streaming through the middle of the ground unopposed for a secondary option, and you've got Camden McIntosh who's kept running up on the wing on the outside in space himself to receive the next handball. So because of three quick decisions, three quick times we moved the ball quickly from a mark or a handball receive, we're now getting ourselves into space and we can now move the ball in a much more cleaner and fluid way, which actually gives us a chance rather than just dropping it long. So we'll keep going. So Camden McIntosh takes possession. Could have gone the kick. Someone's pushed up. I can't see who that is just yet, but they've pushed up from the half forward line to get up to this contest. Brian Myers is now having to run over to him, so he's dragged, I suppose, further out of position. If we look centrally, we've still got Hopper, Taranto, Nank in the midfield for anything that has to come inboard. But we've now caught the Geelong defenders out of position a little bit. They haven't had time to set up, which now allows the following to occur. Kick down the line. Seth Campbell in space. He marks, again, goes back and makes another quick decision to Noah Bolter on the lead and takes a mark in the pocket. So that's the first example I wanted to show. And look, I know that ultimately that ends up being a low percentage play into the pocket. I get that side of it. Like, you obviously would rather that be a bit more of a corridor area that he's taken the mark. But when I sort of break it down and think about how many times per game are we actually hitting a leading forward cleanly like that, it's not many. And that's due to us being not experienced, other teams being very good. So when we do move the ball quickly and make snap decisions and play on instinct, that's the kind of payoff you get. And then obviously with that comes, you can change your angles up and do other different bits and pieces. But that's the first example I wanted to show with some good ball movement down the ground. All right, the second one I want to look at is a stoppage inside defensive 50. Now, this one didn't result in a goal, and I want to point out the one thing I would do differently right at the very end. But we'll start rolling the tape from the stoppage in defensive 50. As you can see, we've got some pretty good representation down there. Nank gets the punch. Sonzi's trapped there. I mean, this release handball is really important. And last week, the week before against the Crows, we weren't hitting these handballs, and this is what was halting our momentum. It's a basic fundamental handball, right? Like, I get it. They should all be hitting it. But for whatever reason, we weren't nailing these. And the release of the handball from Sonzi to Prestia is the vital piece in being able to set up a forward thrust. So Sonzi trapped it well, gives it on the up to Prestia, and the fast breaks on. So Presti is running through the middle of the ground. We've got players out wide. We've got players in the middle. And he's got a lead up forward, which I believe was Tom Sims. And that's what you want from your big guy. This is what we need Fall and Sims to be doing. So leads up. Really precise kick from Dion Prestia. Again, it's a skill level you want to see time in, time out. But Sims takes the mark. And at this stage, there's actually not a hell of a lot ahead of him to go quick. So he does have to hold fire a little bit. He can't pull the trigger on something too quickly. But you can still see the Tiger players are running and overlapping and getting up the ground to get into the next position. But Sims holds it up here. And then we end up chipping it out wide. Hopper's run from the back half into space. He plays on. He's trying to get the ball moving. So here, I like that he's gone backwards. And I don't think we do this enough, because by going back and maintaining possession here rather than blazing away, we actually give ourselves a chance to keep the ball moving. Because if you can see, there's a giant space over the top of these group of players here that's not been filled by a Richmond or a Geelong player. So if Hopper goes down the line there, which is where everyone's predicted the ball to go, then it probably gets killed out of bounds or something, or nothing comes of it. But going sideways here to Banks actually gives us a chance to keep the contest alive and gives us another chance to have another entry. So Banks gets it. We've got Hugo's looped in over the top. Sonzi's over the top as well. Now, this is where I would do something different. Everything they've done so far, I think, has been really, really positive. And I suppose this is where the mentality of our players when they go forward just needs to evolve and shift a bit differently. I'm going to move my camera quickly for this next part. So Sonzi's got the ball. His eyes are already looking down the line. So we can see there's a 2-on-1 on, I believe, Jonty Fall inside 50. And that might be Tom Sims, who's leading towards the boundary line with another 2 Geelong players nearby. And I think that might be Mansell closer to the boundary side. So it's not really a positive option for us. But if you look across to the top of the 50, I'm not sure who the player is, but they're leading into a big pocket of space, and that's maybe a 25, 30 meter kick that Sonzi could hit flat. And Sonzi's a good user of the ball. That's the kick he should have been taking. He should have been kicking it. If you watch the guy at the top of the 50 in the space he gets into, already with his arms out calling, Sonzi's eyes needed to go inboard there. And this isn't a shot at Sonzi because all of our players have done this. This is just one example. If he goes inboard to that player in that spot, then we've opened up the whole rest of the ground and we're in a much more dangerous position. But I guess via our default method, the kick, like you look at the space he's in, there's no, that kick goes to his advantage, towards nearer to the umpire, and he's away. But instead, he does go down the line to what ends up being a 3-on-2, and it just gets bundled over out of bounds for a throw-in. So not the result we would have liked, and we could have definitely had an impact on the contest in another way. It's a learning, and that's the part of the game that we need to adjust. We need to get a bit more ballsy, a bit more dangerous, and take those kicks on in the middle to give ourselves better chances to score. But the lead-up play was really nice. We actually moved the ball well. Sims held up when he had to. Hopper ran from behind to create some run and overlap. And again, because we moved it quickly, the Geelong defence weren't able to set up, and that's how that pocket of space opened up over the top for Hugo Ralphsmith and Tyler Sonzi. So good play there, just didn't execute to the right part of the ground at the end. The third and final one I want to show is another bit of transition from deep in our back line, pretty much on the boundary line, as we can see here with Ben Miller, who's just taken a mark from a switch across the goal from Nathan Broad. And you can see, if you look to the right-hand side, you've got Hugo Ralphsmith out wide. That would be an option. He's got a couple of Geelong players who are about to go over there and shut that space down. You can see the 3 Geelong players shifting across. But what that's doing is it's opening up some space in the middle of the 50, which I guess opposition teams want players to try and take that kick, and it's a ballsy kick, it's a risky kick, but it then gives you some other avenues to move the ball down the ground. So Ben Miller marks it, players are shifted across, everyone's kind of shuffled, so now the right-hand side of the ground is pretty much closed off, and if we were to kick it down there, it's just a contest that's probably going to go out of bounds. If you look to the top of the 50, Dion Presti is standing there, and there's a big pocket of space in front of him. Now, that's maybe now a 45-metre kick, which is ultra dangerous. Don't get me wrong. Kicking into the heart of the opposition 50 is not usually recommended, but brave football often is required, and I'm almost rathering that we take these type of kicks because of what eventuates. So Ben Miller assesses the options, kicks it to Presti's advantage. Great kick, ballsy kick. Ben Miller's foot skills has improved heaps this year, and I'm so glad he took this kick. So Presti's going to take the mark. Sam Banks is front and centre. You can see him in the front of shot there. This is the value, what you're about to see, of moving the ball quickly rather than going back and taking the kick. This is why Sam Banks is taking his game to a new level. Presti marks. Sam Banks wraps around on the fly. No one able to get near him. Beautiful kick to Morris, who's already down the ground in space. Great mark. And now we've got Geelong out of position. We've got a player in the middle. We've got Tom Sims down the bottom right of screen running inside 50. Is that Noel Bolter there, or he might be a bit further afield? But either way, Morris takes the mark. And at this point, you've got two options. You either slow it down and you give the Cats time to get numbers behind the ball, or you do what Morris does, hit the ground running, wheel around. It was Noel Bolter who streams back inside 50 and takes the easiest of uncontested marks, 25, 30 metres out, and then I think he snapped and missed, which is a bummer. Really, and that's the frustrating part. We move the ball so well down the ground, so exciting manner, we try and create good habits, and then we end it with a really shit finish, and we don't get reward for effort. But that's a different story for a different day. You could see the method in the way we move the ball. Quick decision-making, gutsy kicks. Like the Miller to Presti kick was dangerous, and the Banks to the Morris kick was equally as dangerous with the players that were around him. But because they moved the ball so quickly, it didn't give the Cats time to set up. That's how we want to move the ball most times. We're just not afforded the luxury to do so. It's something we're going to hopefully see more and more of. And that's how the ball can end up going from coast to coast pretty quickly. So there you have it, a bit of analysis on our ball movement. Wanted to put a bit more of a positivity one out there for this week. It's there because I do see a lot of comments about, oh, we've got no method, we've got no ball movement. We do have it. As you could see, we just don't see it often enough because we're just not there yet. But when it happens, shit, it looks good, and I'm excited for it to happen a lot more in the future. But yeah, let us know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoy the analysis videos, let us know. Hopefully, yeah, you get something out of it and we can highlight a few different things along the way. But make sure you like and subscribe for more Richmond content, and I'll see you for the next one. Go Tigers.